Hello and welcome to the Hellraiser blog. Please guys, if you enjoyed today's blog, hit the subscribe button. We love growing the Hellraiser Boxing YouTube family. Okay, so the fight that I'm going to look at today is a fight that actually I'm quite intrigued by. It's David Price against Kash Ali, and I'll admit part of the reason why I'm doing the blog on the fight because so many people are ringing me up saying, "Oh, Kash Ali, what's his chances? Do you think he can?" Right, Kash Ali can beat David Price. He has a chance. He has a big right hand. I mean, why people are asking me, because Kash Ali actually boxed on a Hellraiser show. If you look on if you Google Kash Ali against Paul Butlin, you'll find the fight that I'm talking about. And that was the only time I've actually seen Kash Ali box in the flesh. Does he have a chance against David Price? He does have a chance. He has a live chance. He has a huge right hand. Unfortunately, the right hand, when he boxes Paul Butlin, as you'll see if you watch on the channel, he lands behind the head repeatedly. And, I mean, Paul Butlin's not a small guy, but he's there. But David Price is there. So hitting him, good luck hitting him on the back of the head. I think there's a bit of a misconception about David Price having a soft chin. I don't think David Price necessarily has got a soft chin. I remember when he first boxed Tony Thompson, Frank at that moment in time, Kelly, as she is now, was then Frank Maloney, and I was working actually with Frank, and Frank said to me, he goes, "Oh, there's all these people, they're all calling for this fight, and I've told them I'm dead against it. What do you think?" And it was Tony Thompson. And I said, you know, out of the sort of group of people that are between where you are and where you're going, he's probably the one I wouldn't want to fight. And Frank said, exactly, that's it, I don't want to take this fight. And I can vouch for Frank that he absolutely did not want Tony Thompson. But the fight was made with Tony Thompson, and then a rematch was made with Tony Thompson, and Tony Thompson knocked David Price out both times. Tony Thompson, probably not on the skill level in terms of his nimbleness and his agility and his ability to box at long range, but certainly in terms of strength and conditioning and experience, you know, a hardened guy that's gone through all these sort of tough tests and come through them, and you know that's a big step up for David Price. I think the problem was that David Price had maybe had too many soft touches, which meant there was almost like a chorus of doubters that were constantly sort of not exactly ridiculing him, but that were sort of pointing him out as if he was a fake. And I don't think David Price is a fake. I actually think David Price was, certainly back then after the Olympics, when he had his Olympic medal, he was a big prospect, and someone that, you know, probably could have been a lot further ahead in his career than what he actually is if he'd had maybe more softer touches than what he did have. But that's boxing, you know, anyway. And the fighter, probably David himself, I don't even know if it was him that was calling for Tony Thompson, but the fighters always, you know, they always believe in themselves, and they want tests. They don't want, boxers normally don't want soft touches, very rarely. Certainly at that level that David Price is at. So he fights now against Kash Ali. Why everyone's asking me, because Kash Ali boxed on that Hellraiser show. You can see the fight. If you look for Paul Butlin versus David Price, you can see the fight. It's on the YouTube channel. It's not a bad fight, actually. Paul Butlin comes as a journeyman, and he really put, I mean, I remember on the day he was late. He turned up late, and I thought that's very unprofessional for him to turn up late. And I thought he's probably just going to literally go down in the first round and then get back and disappear off again, because if you're really up for it, why would you sort of, you know, pay so little attention and turn up at the 11th hour? In fact, he turned up after the fight was supposed to happen originally, the time that he arrived at. But he didn't. Paul Butlin got in there and he really gave it a good go. It was good because he put pressure on Kash Ali, and that's when you learn about the fighters. You know, when they're in their comfort zone and they're able to just do what they want because the opponent's so far behind them in terms of skill or strength or conditioning, that you don't really get to see what they're really made of. But on this occasion, I did feel right. I learned a lot about Kash Ali, and that's probably why I'm getting a lot of people asking me, is Kash Ali going to beat David Price? Well, there's a lot of question marks over Kash Ali. I know because he used to be managed by Greg Steen, who I used to work with a lot. I still do work with him. And I remember Greg was offered the Daniel Dubois fight, and I'm pretty sure it was Kash Ali or Kash Ali's trainer that didn't want that fight. Not obviously if Dubois offered it, then it wasn't them that didn't want the fight. Probably Kash Ali can get bigger money for fighting David Price. David Price is maybe a more established name, certainly with Sky Sports, where the show is being broadcast. And how do I think the fight's going to go? I know loads of people, they want to hear, you know, Kash is going to do it. My problem with it is, right, firstly, Kash Ali is a lot shorter. David Price is like much taller guy. And I think Kash Ali, when he boxed Butlin, he struggled with range. He at times struggled to get his shots off. And he's most frequently landed punch. If you watch the video, you'll see over and over again, he hits Paul Butlin on the back of the head with the right hand. Now, maybe the referee should have been a little bit stronger, a lot stronger with him, and stopped him from throwing that, because then we'd have seen Kash Ali have to find another solution. We'd have learnt more about him. But that isn't even really a possibility against David Price, because to hit someone on the back of the head when they're sort of that much taller than you, David Price is literally like 6'6", 6'7". He's a big, tall heavyweight. And he's very rangy, and he throws very fast, straight punches. And that's where I think Kash Ali's going to run into difficulties here, because when you're fighting journeymen, it's easy to sort of have that shape. And Kash Ali, I mean, he was originally trained by and managed by Dominic Ingle. Most Ingle fighters have very good movement, both backwards and sideways. And Kash Ali does have a little bit of that, but he looked slightly clumsy. And the thing is that you learn about fighters, I find, is that when they're fighting journeymen or they're fighting people that they never have to really come out of their comfort zone. Yes, they can move backwards, they can move sideways, they can do pretty much what they want. But when they're under pressure, they revert to type. And at times, Paul Butlin put Kash Ali under pressure in that fight. Wasn't a walking apart from it, it was a half fight. And then Kash Ali had to use movement, and to me, he looked quite clumsy when he had to move. And I think against someone like David Price, that's very dangerous. The other thing is that Kash Ali often seemed to sort of lean forward. And again, against a journeyman, get away with that, that's fine. It's not exactly lazy, but it's not very cautious either. The problem with David Price is that David Price has got like a massive reach advantage here and over Kash Ali. And Kash Ali's going to have to be coming forwards. He's going to have to slip inside. And with David Price's fast straight punches and movement, I think as the rounds go on, if they get to like the third or fourth round, Kash is going to have to start moving forwards very quickly, which is very dangerous against a puncher like David Price. I think David Price's punching power is undervalued. I also think his chin is undervalued. Look at the people that have knocked out, because I've heard a lot of people, oh, but Kash Ali can really whack. If he lands that on Price. David Price has been knocked out by world-class people, or verging on world-class people, not by people that can't punch, not by non-punchers, not by pitter-patter, guys that can't crack an egg. Those guys don't put a dent in David Price. David Price's problem, for me, has come that he's just been matched in some very, very hard fights against world-class punchers, and they've caught him on the chin. For me, I'd have liked him to see him have more sort of cautious fights leading up to, say, the first Tony Thompson fight, because he's certainly more skillful than Tony Thompson. He's a better mover. For me, he has a lot of things in his favour, but it was just the physical side of the fight which was too much for him, and he got dragged into exactly the wrong kind of fight for him and the right kind of fight for Tony Thompson. Ends up getting knocked out. Right, this is a different beast that he's fighting here in Kash Ali, and I think I mean, certainly everyone that's rang me, I've told them straight, I mean, don't put any money on Kash Ali. I've had people that have worked with Kash Ali that have said to me, no, I fancy him, Well, I don't, because I think Kash Ali is going to throw shots from too far out, because he's never fought anyone. He has fought, he fought like David Howe, he's a very tall heavyweight, but he's never fought anyone with the height, reach and speed and strength that David Price has got. David Howe has the height, but he doesn't have the power and the speed. And I think that David Price's punch resistance is undervalued. He's been knocked out by Tony Thompson. He's been knocked out by guys that, Povetkin. These are world-class punchers. You can't really use that as a yardstick. Oh, he's got no chin, he's chinny. No, he's been pitched in at a level that was, sometimes at short notice, sometimes too far too soon. I think, we just seen David Price come off a very good win, very good result against Tom Little. where he was, you know, and that's a sort of, from a management point of view, that's what you want to do, build the guy up. Now he fights Kash Ali. I've got to say, I'm going for David Price by a stoppage, probably by around sort of round 5, something like that. Thanks for watching, guys. Please hit subscribe, and I'll catch you soon on the Hellraiser blog. Yeah.